guys belong. Let me tell you about Eric. Eric is from Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is going through a revitalization process of its own, and Eric, for his capstone project, carved out a piece of that, and he went off to find the communities that we often forget to include in major events like that. So he went and launched a community engagement project with the residents who live and work along the I-240 corridor, people who live right there next to the highway. And he got these folks who are usually neglected and voiceless engaged in envisioning a thriving and sustainable future for themselves and their families, and potentially for everyone who lives by a highway in this great urban highway-infested country that we have. So you folks in the audience, you are the city government officials and the civic sector leaders who have come to hear the outcomes of Eric's groundbreaking research. To you, Eric.
Thank you, Presidio. And so my goal today is to get you to care about highway corridors. This is not real, obviously, but as sustainability people, we should really put our efforts to things that have inherent complexity, where a lot of systems converge, and most importantly, where people live and work. I built my capstone project off an existing public-private partnership in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Go Thunder, beat LA tonight. Like Gretchen said, I specifically was looking at the social impact of a highway re-envisioning process on a community that lives and works there, and the impact that they could have on that project. This is the I-240 corridor. This is a map of Oklahoma City. You can see Oklahoma City developed centrally up until the Second World War, and then you see the suburban development explosion that happened after that. What's happening now is that communities like Oklahoma City in the middle of the country are reinvesting in their downtowns. So fringe areas and areas like this corridor in particular feel somewhat neglected. This is the highway corridor in question, the I-240 corridor. You can see that suburban development in this picture clearly. You see a lot of big box stores, a lot of shopping centers, a lot of single-family residential. In the background you see Oklahoma City's airport. When you get a little bit closer, you see the multi-unit housing where people live. You see an example of the shopping center there. And what you see is an opportunity to connect the neighborhoods around these areas and build walkability, bikeability, and connectivity in general. When you get even closer to the ground, you see maybe a lack of sidewalks. You see some ugly signage, so some opportunities for real beautification for this area. Obviously, some public transportation infrastructure that needs to be rebuilt. This was actually a bus stop that someone ran into with their car, and so now. And you see the big box store there that represents a real lack of investment for this community right now. This is not a shot of the moon landing. This is one of the shopping centers in question. The day I was taking this photo, there were some kids that got off a bus to get to a community college in the back of that shopping center. Obviously, places like this represent a failure of public policy, but they also represent a real opportunity to maybe build some infill development to increase economic opportunity, maybe build some green space and plazas. Really, the opportunities are endless for places like this. So with my project, as Gretchen said, I wanted to listen to about 100 people. I target specifically neighborhood associations and church pastors. What are the needs and interests of these people in this area? And they have a real pulse on their communities. And what are their dreams for their future? So in the MPA program, we talk about a guy named Alberto Hirschman who talked about exit, voice, and loyalty. So exit, am I going to leave my community because my needs aren't being met? Voice, am I able to give voice to my interests and needs? And then loyalty, am I going to be loyal to my community no matter what? And then some people add neglect to that. So obviously my dog feels he's being neglected. For some reason he really loves me. So a few implementation challenges. What I found that these populations here are a little bit older and they're planning to age in place. They feel like they're able to meet their needs, but mostly through the use of automobiles. Also at the same time, you have a growing Hispanic population, and I talked about those traditional civic areas for the people that live here. So you have a real clash of a new population mixing with an older population. And obviously, with 100,000 vehicles a day, there's a real opportunity to contain the traffic. So one option is to strengthen these neighborhoods, to build off the pocket neighborhood idea, specifically for seniors that want to age in place, share resources, green space, that kind of thing. Ellen Dunham Jones talks about retrofitting suburbia, and on the left side you see some pulse node development. Obviously you're not going to be able to develop this whole stretch of highway, but you can look at specific intersections to make more walkable, specific shopping centers to move from automobile-centric to human-centric. So recommendations to city leaders. As we know, everything starts with cultivating those relationships and having those conversations. And through that, you can help this area and assist them in speaking with one voice to attract investment from city leaders and the private sector. And then with the issue of Hispanic and growing older populations there's really an opportunity to consult with national experts and communities that have dealt with these issues before. And finally, this is a highway corridor. There's plenty of them all over the country, so we can apply the knowledge that we learn here elsewhere. So thank you for your time tonight.
Yay, MPA. You know, we've been working